Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about kind of repetition and repeating yourself and trying to capture lightning in a bottle again. I literally just realized this about 2 minutes ago when I was like, oh, I need to talk about this. Because Celestial Bodies came on my music, and I started thinking about how I've been struggling with Let the World Forget Us, which is the album that I started back in November, and then I really haven't had it, like the inspiration or motivation to get back to. And I think Celestial Bodies is emblematic of that struggle, because in Let the World Forget Us, I have a song called Terrestrial Bodies, where I wanted to kind of rehash that song in a different way, kind of make a sequel to it. And I started to realize that I shouldn't try to rely on making a sequel. I should just keep learning or just keep moving forward. And I need to learn to not rely so much on, my past successes. I absolutely love The Moon Seems Unaffected. It's by far my favorite album that I've released, and I listen to it a lot. And because of that, I believe it kind of affected how I approached last year's November album, because The Moon Seems Unaffected was 2020 in November. And I feel that my perception and my approach to Let the World Forget Us was tainted by that. And that's not a bad thing. Like, I had a lot of really great ideas that I wanted to continue evolving. But the style and the approach to those songs is different, and it should be treated as different. And I think that I really have been stuck in the idea that I need to make a sequel to The Moon Seems Unaffected rather than just a completely new album, maybe along the same vein tonally, but not like, yeah, it's hard to find that delineation for me, I guess. But it's a song with the same tone, but it's not inspired by the prior album. So it's not a sequel, but it's just a continuation. And I think that that's really where I've been struggling with Let the World Forget Us, because I really want to capture that lonely tone of The Moon Seems Unaffected again, but that's not going to happen. I'm not in that same mindset. And I want to ensure that, when I do work on Let the World Forget Us again, that it's something that is personal to me, because these albums are all very personal to me. And I want to make sure that when I work on it again, it is actually something that resonates with me, and it's not just me trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle again, because it's not how it works. So I think I need to do a little soul searching of my own when it comes to how to approach this, and how to just kind of execute on this album, because I really love what's there, but I also am struggling so much trying to realize the ideas that I have within the context of the album that came before it that I love so much. So I think I need to shuck the idea that this has to be a sequel and just try to hone in on that tone and that mood and that feeling that I have for Let the World Forget Us. Because The Moon Seems Unaffected was an album about loneliness, because it was in the middle of the pandemic. And then Let the World Forget Us is more an album about emancipating yourself from kind of the social structures that happen through the internet, which is a very heavy topic. And I'm trying to avoid like politicizing it or getting too heavy handed with the commentary, but like the idea of being able to walk away and just kind of exist outside of the continuum of the internet, like that's what I want to talk about, finding peace and centering yourself outside of that space, because as many of you know, the internet is a very chaotic place, and there is not a lot of time or space for you to like kind of think and center yourself and kind of regroup. So I wanted to have an album that was more contemplative and more meditative, whereas The Moon Seems Unaffected was something more lonely and more somber. So it's finding those tones, and I want to embrace those tones to ensure that I'm not just making a sequel to The Moon Seems Unaffected. I am making another album that might be in the same vein, but is like has its own identity to it. And I feel that that's something that everybody can like, that everybody can kind of pursue, because I know friends who have released albums or released games, and they were like, man, people really like that. I had a lot of fun making it. Like, I guess it's time to make the sequel. And it's like, no. You can hold up, and you can like try to find like the identity and try to do something else. And there's nothing wrong with sequels. I should point that out. But I think that there's something wrong with just doing the same thing over again. And I want to make sure that I'm not just repeating myself because it's the easy way to do it, or because it's like what people want. Now, if I had a plethora of new ideas, like for a sequel of The Moon Seems Unaffected, then maybe I would go and do it. But I don't have ideas in that vein anymore. Like, I kind of exhausted everything I had. But like Let the World Forget Us is in a similar area, but it's a very different way of expressing those ideas, because I'm not limited to the saxophone, the bass guitar, the drums, and like a synth once in a while, and piano. Like, I had a very limited set of instruments for that. And for Let the World Forget Us, I'm like opening myself up to synths and like other ambient stuff. And I want to make sure that I'm respecting that. And then I'm respecting the idea of the project without just trying to recycle ideas that were like, I knew that were successful in the prior project. And that doesn't mean I'm going to scrap Terrestrial Bodies. I actually really like it a lot, but I feel that I need to minimize it more. Like, it's a 5-minute long song now, and it feels very repetitive. It's just like, hey, this is the same idea, but with a spin on it. And it's like, no, let's take that idea, let's represent it, let's let people know that it exists, and then just kind of move on. Because it's still an important, it's like connective tissue between the two albums, but it's not something that has to be such a big part of the album. Like, it can just be a little wink to the prior album, and then we can move on with our lives. And it doesn't have to be a 5-minute long song. It could be like a 1.5-minute long interlude, and people would still get it. So I'm just talking to myself right now, but this was just kind of a flash of inspiration that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I guess that's it. Hey guys, thank you so much for being a Patreon subscriber. I really genuinely do appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend. I love you lots, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.